A 90-day window is what President Donald Trump of the United States gave on his reciprocal tariffs that has sent markets tumbling across the globe. The bigger picture we're looking at right now is what finished products do Nigeria and Africa have for the global market that gives that sense of comparative advantage. These and many more questions will be answered in the course of the coming week as the world converges on Washington, D.C. for the annual meetings of the IMF and the World Bank. My name is Leah today. You're welcome. We start the business of the day straight away from the trends table.
The Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, or NSIA, has announced its audited financial results for the year 2024, netting an outstanding 96% growth in net assets. Managing Director of the authority, Mr. Aminu Umar Sadiq, attributed the impressive surge in net assets to strong resilience and strategic positioning that has helped the country weather ongoing uncertainties in the global economic landscape. Net assets as of December 2024 stood at 4.35 trillion naira, nearly doubling the 2.22 trillion naira recorded in 2023, driven primarily by a diversified revenue base, gains from foreign exchange movements, and a strong infrastructural portfolio. This indicates 12 consecutive years of profitability for NSIA, with cumulative retained earnings now reaching 3.74 trillion naira. The Federation account received lower revenue in the month of March 2025 as the Federation Account Allocation Committee FAC shared 1.578 trillion naira to the federal government, states and local government councils at the April 2025 meeting of the committee, which held in Abuja. Bao Makwa, Director Press and Public Relations at the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, in a statement disclosed that the total distributable revenue of 1.578 trillion naira comprised distributable statutory revenue of 931.325 billion naira, distributable value-added tax VAT revenue of 593.750 billion naira, electronic money transfer levy EMTL revenue of 24.971 billion naira, and exchange difference revenue of 28.711 billion naira. Mokwa stated that the petroleum profit tax PPT and companies income tax CIT increased considerably in March 2025, while oil and gas royalty, electronic money transfer levy EMTL, value-added tax VAT, excise duty, import duty, and CET levies recorded decreases. The Central Bank of Nigeria has cautioned deposit money banks against raising capital from illicit sources as part of the ongoing recapitalization exercise. The bank said the exercise was necessary to preserve financial system stability and ensure that the banking sector remains strong enough to support the country's $1 trillion economic target. Director of Banking Supervision of the CBN, Dr. Olubukola Akinwumi, in a presentation at the 36th Finance Correspondents Association of Nigeria and Business Editors Seminar in Abuja, said that while the recapitalization exercise is designed to reposition the sector for bigger responsibilities, the bank will not compromise its regularity oversight. The Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority (NMDPRA) says Nigeria has recorded a drop in the importation of premium motor spirit (PMS) from 44.6 million litres a day in August 2024 to 14.7 million litres by 13th April 2025. NMDPRA attributed the 30 million litres fall to contributions by local plants. Farouk Ahmed, Chief Executive Officer of NMDPRA, told State House correspondents that local supply increased by 670% within the same period. The Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) has reacted to the operation of CBEX, a digital asset trading platform in Nigeria, insisting that any of such platforms not registered with it is illegal. Director General of the SEC, Emomotimi Agama, during a virtual engagement with fintech stakeholders on the Investment and Securities Act ISC 2025, warned Nigerians against patronizing unregistered platforms. His warning was spurred by the closure of CBEX following the inability of users to withdraw their funds.
Next is our policy conversation on industrialization and market opportunities. The entire Trump saga has seen major economies and U.S. trade partners come up with strong positions, ultimately seeking level playing ground for all. But looking at the entire scenario now, Nigeria and Africa completely missing in the global conversation despite existing trade and bilateral agreements and relationships. So the big questions is, don't we have what it takes to negotiate when it matters the most? Ogbonna Ukuku is an investment promotion expert. He joins me in this conversation to put in context the place of Africa in global trade and the implications. It's nice to have you, Mr. Ogbonna, for this brief discussion.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, I would start by asking you, this tariff war we're witnessing is premised on local consumptions. That's according to what the U.S. President Donald Trump is saying. But is there anything at all that a country like Nigeria, for instance, consumes that it produces without any external factor at all?
Maybe it's water. That's on the lighter note. In reality, see, these are the things, the clamor for a while now. Everybody has been saying, let's diversify the economy, let's industrialize, So the factors that support industrialization, they're all segmented or they're positioned in different forms in Nigeria, but we've not been able to link the chain. So the chain, starting from raw material research, looking at the market, which already exists, and then looking at the financial engineering, so being able to provide, the liquidity that is required to support, that's long-term funds that is required to support industrialization, looking at one of the most important parts, which is technology, having the right technology that is needed, whether you acquire or you've tried to develop locally. So looking at those things, and then the efficiency, which is the ease of doing business within the ecosystem, those things have just been pockets of issues that we need to just pull them together, and then we can industrialize and then begin to manufacture things end to end. So part of the things we have seen here is we've seen a whole lot of coupling, or I call them assembling. We assemble things, we really don't manufacture. So manufacturing will be an end-to-end, taking raw material into, turning them into finished products. So we really don't have things that we produce here that are end-to-end that we can boast of as far as this country is concerned. So diversification and working towards actualizing those industrialization and that revolution that needs to occur is yet to occur, and then without that occur, we can't find ourselves on the table.
So what are the implications of all this you've explained now to the industrialization drive of Nigeria?
Now, it goes to show that we're a virgin land when it comes to industrialization. There are a few things that happened many years back that needs to come back. For example, somebody will say, oh, we have industries. Go to Ogun State, you will find companies like Ideal doing manufacturing to different. I'll tell you simple truth. Ideal is, they produce liquor, for example. Liquor that they produce, one of the products is liquor. So liquor is 80 to 70% ethanol, and ethanol is gotten from cassava, and they get ethanol from China and Brazil. So what are you telling me? So the only thing they use that I think they get locally are maybe some of the products that they have that they use local herbs, and those local herbs, if you check well, some of them still come from some other parts of Africa like Ghana. So it goes to show that they are still assembling, they are not yet manufacturing. So if you're talking about backward integration and looking at farming, for example, for you to be able to bring 6 million liters of ethanol, you need to cultivate at least 1,500 or 1,600 hectare of a cassava farm, with an average yield of 28 tons per hectare. So you still can't find those things. So there's still that huge gap. So the implications are so high. So we are depending on other people to do the real work, and then we take from them and then begin to distill, and then those things are now products that we put on the shelf. So there has to be a deliberate functional attempt to make sure that backward integration happens. So it goes from soil test, knowing the kind of inputs, encouraging our farmers, providing the required financial support that farmers need to be able to produce. Because, where will you find those kind of 8,500 hectare cassava farm that will give you that yield in Nigeria? Yes, we have a few of them in Oyo State. You have some elite, I think Agrocrest here in Kogi State. But look at it practically. Those ones are choked because they already signed up for different things that the different companies that they're already supporting. So it goes to show that we're doing little. So the implications are high, if you ask.
Is Africa so insignificant in this entire conversation? Nobody is hearing anything from any African leader, or our leaders just quiet.
So the size we have as a continent is being viewed as market, not as a contributor to productivity.
What does that mean?
So what that means is, let's go back. Let's go into history. The reason why we have the Dar es Salaam port in Tanzania was basically because there was this huge manufacturing bay for apparels that came up many years ago when the West saw Africa as a place where they could find cheap labor. So they did a survey and they found out that in East Africa they could find people who were dedicated, who would do the work, and then but the problem was, how do we move the goods out? So they were able to bring in some of their raw materials and then do the manufacturing from Tanzania and its environment, and then move everything back to Dar es Salaam. This was before they started discovering that they could do the same. The US could do the same in Haiti. They could do the same in Panama. So there was just a shift. So it's about everything about manufacturing is about that competitiveness of your finished goods. So if it's not just about having the rights, the manpower, you need to also have the skill, and then again, at the end of the day, by the time you put all of that together, if the cost of logistics is being swallowed up in all that you're trying to save, at the end of the day, so proximity now becomes the issue. So that was a quick shift back to the northern part of America, because that's where the manufacturing came before what has happened. China now rose up and said, yes, we can do end to end. We can start from the cottons, and then we'll make the apparels. Of course, there's a place they call the Button City in China, where they manufacture 80% of the buttons used in the entire world come from a particular province in China. It's called the Button City. So it's there. So the creativity, the innovation, the intentionality for nations to become part of the value chain. So you might not even, things have changed anyway. So you might not do end-to-end manufacturing now. You can actually be part of the value chain. Like Boeing, for example, different parts of in the aircraft come from different parts of the world. So it's you using your competitive advantage to produce and say, okay, I can come in from this angle, and then look at what we're doing with our solid mineral sector. We have certain things that we can say, okay, let's focus and finish these goods, and then we can now push them into the global markets, and then people can purchase and then add it to the manufacturing bay because this thing is needed.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if we're exporting anything at all that is at that level of finished products.
Is highly insignificant when it comes to because everything about trade is how balance. We look at the balance when it comes to trade, because if, for example, we're doing African food in, let's say, on the shelves in the US, and then we're trying to bring cocoa, bringing cocoa to the chocolate manufacturers, it's still a bit insignificant compared to the amount of things that we consume or we bring into our country. So if the trade, the balance of the trade is actually where the issue is. Because at this point, yes, things like oil is not being affected when it comes to this tariff issue. Or yes, we understand that, but most of those staple, things that people need, generally speaking, we don't. It's too insignificant to measure.
Can it get better?
Of course, it can get better. It's just intentionality. It's just, I mean, that's even why I like the position where we are now as a country. I like the position because, this we've been talking about this for many years. So in real terms, we have to develop to be counted. We have to grow to be able to participate. We have to have what to give the world because the world has actually changed. Without bringing something to the table, you won't have a conversation. Without having a conversation, you won't have the liquidity. Without having the liquidity, you can have the FX. Without the FX, your economy will crumble. And then with the political leadership that we have now and the way that the political leadership reasons, I think they have no choice but to begin to explore. And that intentionality has to play because if we don't do that, the country will collapse on everybody.
So effectively, Nigeria and Africa are nowhere on the industrialized nations map.
And when we say Africa, you have to also segment. We have South Africa that have done so well when it comes to the technology, energy, and a few more other things that there's solid minerals too. You need to look at countries like Egypt, Morocco. So I think when you're discussing Africa, you have to take those ones out. But I mean, when it comes to West Africa, some part of East Africa, we still have a long way to go, really, and we need to actually brace up because we need to take the world, by storm, and the only way to do that is first things first, have a renewed mindset when it comes to manpower contribution, technology development. We need to look at how to have take advantage of having our population to have the consumable income, the disposable income to be able to purchase, and then again make sure that we have provide leadership that will bring in efficiency that is required to have an effective economy.
Okay. In the course of this conversation, you raised something that I find very concerning. That is research. We budget for these things every year. We plan for these things every year. But when you look at it vis-a-vis the results, are we doing well? Or what is missing that our research in this part of the world is not meeting the market?
Research and development is also a key factor when it comes to development. Now, you say the distance between, I say it all the time, the distance between a chaotic system to a centralized system is an informed citizenry. Now, I use that as a bridge. Informed citizenry could come from how educated, and then the two kinds of education, formal and informal education, and then again how much they know. So how much they know informs their expectations. So if you say yes, things have been budgeted, yes, things are being implemented, but are those things enough to meet the mark that is required? Of course, comparing us to us is okay, but comparing us with other people from other climes, we are not. So that means there has to be a shift in mindset, a shift in expectation. And as soon as that shift occurs, so it shouldn't be just a pocket of people who are exposed that feel it, but there are people so the smallest person in the society should know what to expect from the next person, apart from the next person. So as it goes higher, from the leaders. So nobody will wake up and say he wants to build a VIP toilet for me. No, that won't change anything. So as far as I'm concerned, if we had 774 local governments in Nigeria and they want to focus on building a service center where people can just bring in farm products to either add value to it and for export, or add value for to support a major manufacturer. So you can imagine the mindset shift that will occur as against building a hall for meetings where we'll have our August meeting in August, then we'll redecorate that hall. So, I mean, that mindset shift, which comes from leadership, really, because I mean, after the institutions then comes those who will provide the leadership that is required.
Okay, President Trump gave a 90 days window, and a lot of people are asking questions. Will it change anything for a country like Nigeria? Will that change anything? Is that enough time to change some of our numbers?
The industrial revolution that needs to occur in Nigeria has little or nothing to do with Donald Trump. So Donald Trump's announcement, 90 days window, there's just the market has a way it reacts. So the market will definitely react. Will react towards trying to build shocks or trying to change, improve, the way we do things. But ours is just being able to use the institutions, the collectiveness of the institutions, have a confluence for a deliberate, productive, to create productivity as far as we are concerned. So the 90 days window has maybe in the oil sector, I don't know. But when it comes to manufacturing, because we're still far behind what's expected, we need to, I think there has to be a conversation really from those at the highest level, subnationals, even at the local level. There has to be an industrial transformation program, that has to be tied into the renewed hope agenda, so that we'll be able to, get our people out of where we are, really, because it's not like it's not like it's not achievable. It is achievable, but I mean, with the monies being saved, with the removal of subsidies, so we need to channel. So it's that channeling and then being able to streamline, human interferences, because those are the areas where you have issues.
The bottlenecks.
Yes, have things automated, and these things are very achievable, really, because I mean, in the course of understanding project management, cost, time, it's just a function of efficiency, and then it's achievable, highly achievable.
I want to sincerely thank you, Ogbonna, for always making out time for conversations like this.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we move on to our education segment, Simplify This. We take you to the local commodities market from there. It is the much we can take for this episode. Don't forget to log on to our sister website, www.marketnigertv.com. We have all the details of markets and more there for you. Don't forget as well to go to our YouTube channel. It is at Saban Media Services. Subscribe, leave your questions, comments, and suggestions to help us serve you better. Until we come your way again, same time next week, I remain Leah Babatunde, urging you to enjoy the rest of the Easter holidays, and God bless Nigeria.